to begin.
You're listening to Magrito Podcast Network, celebrating the culture of Chicanos and Latinos one story and voice at a time. Listen to more Magrito Podcast Network shows over at magrito.net.
You're listening to KQBHLP, Los Angeles, California, 101.5 FM, a community service of the Boyle Heights Arts Conservatory, broadcasting live on your FM dial and streaming on kqbhla.com. You're listening to The Social Primate, and today my guest is Jackie Hernandez of Las Chicas Peligrosas.
Hi, nice to meet you.
What's up, Jackie? Nice to meet you. Thank you so much for making the time.
Of course, thank you for inviting me.
We had the chance to just chat it up right now. You seem very grounded for, as a creative, and, I think that's one of the coolest things that somebody can have, like a trait,
Thank you.
I mean, for people who are just finally getting to hear your voice, and they see you on Instagram, they see your art, and they're like, "Who is Jackie?" Tell us a little bit about that.
So, I go by Las Chicas Peligrosas. I'm from Mid City, but from around Pico Union area. And I'm a screen printmaker. I do screen printing, relief printmaking. I've done murals and digital illustration and a little bit of some animation. But yeah, that's a little basic little bio about me. Yeah.
Now, how long have you been doing that for?
Art.
Mm-hmm.
I think I took it more seriously the year right after I graduated high school. So in 2017.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that was when I fully launched myself into art and started vending and just putting my artwork out there, even if it wasn't that great, but I was I need to start somewhere.
Yeah, that's interesting that you started off that way because, sometimes you see, somebody from the outside looking at your page is oh my God, she has skill, and then you feel stuck because you feel oh, I'm not there yet, and it's easy for you to compare.
Yeah.
And when those comparisons happen, it's easy for you to kind of feel bad about yourself,
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, I think when I started, I knew my skill wasn't that great, but I just was I'll get better with time, and I just need to keep drawing not every day, but all the time to get better.
Yeah, no, and again, I've had this conversation before. I finally came to the conclusion to call myself an artist. For a long time, I denied it because I was I don't do art all the time, so I can't call myself an artist. I feel like a poser.
Yeah.
But eventually you come to the conclusion that as long as you're creating, it doesn't have to just be art. It can be shirts, printmaking. It could be anything that puts your mind to creating something. It's you're an artist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I agree.
And now, how long did you have to, or I guess for you, when did you come to accept that you were an artist?
I think when I was first starting out, I just felt very insecure about my artwork.
Mm-hmm.
I think that also ties into why I chose to have a name Las Chicas Peligrosas, because I wanted to detach myself from the artwork. So, because I felt I was drawing personal things, and then it just kind of felt very vulnerable to put myself out there, and that really helped me. And then I think later on down the road, when I gained that confidence, I was yes, I'm an artist.
Hey, that's cool. I like how you put that, how you had to create Las Chicas Peligrosas as a way of expression, right?
Yeah. And yeah, I always tell people I feel my artwork really just boosted my confidence in myself, and just I guess a story I could share is when I was drawing a lot of characters, it was always oh, I wish I looked like this person, or I wish I could wear this type of clothes, or do my makeup. And then from one day to the next, I was well, I can, let me just start. And it just kind of transitioned. And I think also just forced me to come out of my comfort zone when I'm very introverted and shy. And then it just doing artwork and doing events. It's well, I have to talk to people.
Yeah.
And just get out of that comfort zone, or else I'm not gonna people won't find out about who I am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then that's the one thing as a creative, you have to push you have to put yourself in positions where people are gonna see your work.
Yes.
Even if you don't want to. And we were just having a conversation before where you asked me about the social primate monkey, and it was my form of expressing myself by trying to hide my lack of, or maybe sometimes I get curious. So I was okay, maybe I can hide these things to separate myself from feeling dumb sometimes. Let's put a monkey, make him animated, and use it as a form of expression so I can learn to and grow into myself as well. And you mentioned the whole shy thing too. Like, believe it or not, I am still very shy. Like, if we were outside of this room in a group, I would not be talking. I used to be like the quiet guy.
Yeah.
And it's funny because at some point I remember in high school, people used to think I was conceited because I wouldn't talk to anybody. They even wrote it on my yearbook.
Yeah.
They're like, I thought you were conceited, but you're actually like super cool. And I was like, yeah, I guess people had that perception that if I was just a reserved guy, like I was too good for anybody. I was like, no, man, I was just super shy.
Yeah. No, I feel like it's just like, I feel like in different environments, I'm like, there's certain environments where I'm like talking and then other times I'm like, oh, I'm just going to sit down and Yeah. I mean, but it's again, one of those things that as individuals, you have to kind of grow into yourself as well. And as time progresses and people start noticing your work, you also kind of start having to deal with this new, revelations about yourself. Like, oh man, people see me this way. Like, now you kind of have to fill those shoes in. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you've been doing work like workshops as well, right? Like for some youth more recently.
Yeah, I've been doing, a few things. Like I've been teaching some workshops where like it's been like a longer duration, like a few months. And then other where it's just like pop-up like day of events where it's like over 100 people come in and do like the workshop for like 5-10 minutes and then leave. So yeah, I've been doing both.
Back and forth.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's cool. How do you feel like doing that? Like, see all these people just come up to you and like, I know you guys were doing Topax was one of the latest things you guys did, no?
Yeah, that project was with LA Commons, and basically with that one, me and Sara Seves, which is like a really amazing artist, and she's also local from Boyle Heights. So yeah, we had been teaching like youth lino cuts. So we started in like beginning of March or like somewhere in March, I think. And yeah, we just kind of progressed and taught them like the ins and outs of like printmaking. We did like demos and stuff and like really guided them into like creating the artwork. And one aspect of that was that they had to do a community like story gathering where so in that school at Fremont High School, they have like a garden, they have a UMA clinic, which is a community wellness center, and like they opened up a dentist. So they really wanted to spread awareness of that space that like a lot of community can come in and do. And like once a month, they have like food drives where people can come and just like get food. And so the youth went and collected stories from the people waiting in line of like what they love about their community, what are the things that they want to change or things that they feel like are not that great, or like how can they like express like what is needed in their community for them to thrive. So they really went out there and like talked to all these people in line, and then in return, all those people got tamales and champurados. So yeah, but they made the artwork based off like those interviews, and then from there, me and Sara got inspired from the artwork they were doing, and then that's how we created that design. And then we had like the celebration where we printed the design for free, and everyone just got a tote bag or a poster.
Yeah, that's so cool. I mean, it kind of goes back to my thing again. When I was younger, I didn't really have any sort of mentor or guide or anybody that I can look up to and say like, hey, I need to learn these skills. Like, show me, and I think that's a thing that a lot of us might have gone through, for the most part. And then at some point we want to step into those, again, fill in those shoes where we can come back and help somebody that might have been in our position or is in our position, and all you can really do at that point is just you're bringing value to the next generation, really. Yeah,
no, for sure. I feel like same with me. Like I think like in my school experience, I was always like the shy person in the back. So like I don't feel like that many people really knew about me. And then as I just grew older, I was always like looking for a mentor or just someone that like kind of saw me as like, oh, like this person does exist in my classroom. And actually like the first person who I felt like actually saw me was like a professor I had at Long Beach. And that was the first printmaking class I ever took. So they really like supported like my vision of like how I wanted my artwork to look like, and was teaching me the techniques of printmaking. And so for that, I was just like, well, it took a really long time to get that. And I just always felt like that passion I saw in them teaching me printmaking, I fell in love with printmaking. And then I was like, now I want to teach printmaking and show everyone else how like cool this technique is, and like all the different things you can do with it.
Hey, that's awesome. You know, and that's the crazy part, because sometimes, you know, you're just doing your thing and you don't realize you're inspiring people at the same time, you know, and into somebody's like, hey, you know, they use you, you know, that professor, he was probably like, his ears are ringing right now, like, oh, they're talking about me, you know, you inspired somebody. And
shout out to Alvaro Marquez.
Hey, there you go. Yeah. You know, I've had my share too, you know, now that we're shouting people out, shout out an old teacher I had, Balino Fontes. He passed away a couple of years ago, but again, he was one of those individuals that just kind of wanted you to see the world outside of the, you know, rose-colored glasses that a lot of us sometimes kind of grow up into, you know. You know, I grew up in Cela, so a lot of the times, you know, you're surrounded by certain patterns and habits in the community that it's kind of hard to see what else is out there.
Yeah.
And it's not until you start getting people in your life that start telling you, like, hey, you experiment, take risk, you know, get out of this scarcity mentality, you know, like, you know, you focus on what you don't have rather than what you can do.
Yeah.
And that in itself is a challenge for anybody. But yeah, you know, shout out to those people who in our lives that come across, you know, and
for sure.
that, again, that it just inspires one as ourselves to help bring value to people, you know. And honestly, again, I've been seeing your growth through Instagram, you know. That may not be a good reflection of your overall growth, but it's a measurement that we could see, right? And I see that, you know, you've been involved with a lot of different events and community, and that's the thing as a creative, you need to be involved in
Yes. No, I feel that because I've been working on like a series about Los Angeles, and to me, like, while I was like making it based off my own experience growing up here, I guess like in the last year, obviously I've realized that like, well, it's like just not my experience. Like so many other people are also experience the same thing, and that just made me think, like, when I've been sharing these like illustrations or screen prints, like people relate to the same story, whether it's like, oh, like I grew up off of like Normandy Avenue and I have like my memories there, and like other people also have their memories there. And so I think for that, it's like, I just feel like it's so important to always like be surrounded by community, because I feel like that really inspires me and really keeps me like thinking of like, okay, well, like it's not artwork for myself anymore. It's like artwork for everyone. And it's like telling a story, and it's telling the stories of the people that live here.
Yeah, you see, and that in a sense is a way of breaking out of those that mentality of scarcity again. It's you're telling yourself, like, you know, I have to keep doing this as well, not just for myself, but at this point for the value of everybody else.
Yeah.
And that when you start bringing that up, then you're just basically passing that energy along, right? It's like there's a saying, what's the word? You know, like, what was it? Pass it along or something. I forgot what the phrase is, but you pay it forward. There you go.
Yeah.
You know, and what you're doing, you're giving it to somebody, and this person's going to receive it and say, you know what, now I can take this same thing that you gave me and I'm going to keep passing that around.
Yeah.
And again, you're right there, you're breaking the obstacles on that mentality, you know. And that's, you know, that's all you can really do. You're creating change in people, you know. In regards to Las Chicas Peligrosas, like, where did that name come from?
Well, I was just drawing a lot of like really fierce characters, and it just made sense to call them Las Chicas Peligrosas.
Yeah.
So then the name just stuck, and then every time I went like vending, everyone's like, "Oh, your name is so cool," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, it is cool." And so yeah, it just stuck. A lot of people think that it's like multiple people. I'm like, valid, very valid. But it's just me. I do everything. Yeah.
That's cool. Now, when you approached your original concept of how you wanted your art to look, like, did you, I don't know, use things as reference? Did you kind of like just, you know, create out of that flow that you were in?
Yeah. I think towards the beginning, it was just kind of like trying to find my style. And so I was like just experimenting with a lot of different things of like, oh, I want the eyes to look like that, or like, and yeah. And then it just like also just changed because like I was also going to school. I went to Cal State Long Beach for art. And so obviously like I started gaining a bit more skill, and then it just started changing like the way my artwork was. And then I think there was like after the pandemic, or like when the pandemic hit, it just kind of like made me stop and like slow down and like, okay, well, I'm drawing like just like a bunch of characters that like all these like really powerful people just kind of like alone, or just like standing still, or just like not really interacting with their environment as much. And it just like, I don't know, I felt like that, I just feel like I kind of graduated from it. And I'm like, okay, like I did that. Like I'm ready for something different. And then I hadn't done art for like a year. And I think in 2022, when I was like, all right, like let me start doing screen printing again, I like did one style of artwork, and it just kind of started evolving. I'm like, oh, like people are recognizing me with like the black and blue that I do, of just like 2 color prints, and just really like trying to figure out like, all right, well, like how do I change like so I can create something that like people can relate to and see themselves in as well. Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, it's again evolution. If you're not open to that, you're just gonna, you're gonna get lost in that world, and you're just going down that rabbit hole of nothing.
Yeah.
I've been there before too. It's now that we're talking about just like characters and like building identity, right? Because you're branding your identity. Sorry, you're creating brand identity through what you're creating. And that's how people notice. Similar to like I mentioned to you earlier. I'll say social primate. A lot of people are like, oh, the monkey. Like it's just become recognizable at this point, and that is honestly very priceless sometimes, because in order for you to create something that people can recognize it as your signature, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, sometimes it's extremely hard to have to come up with something, or it costs a lot to get somebody to make this for you.
Yeah.
But you managed to create it yourself.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, I don't know what it is about my style that people recognize as mine, aside from like the colors. And I think also just sticking to the color palette helps. But maybe it's just like the way I draw the face. Everyone says that, like, they always ask me if a character is me. They're like, is that a self-portrait? I'm like, no, but I guess like I always see myself, so I always unintentionally draw myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, that's cool. Again, people are gonna find their own message and everything that they consume. And again, that's gonna be one of the ways that you're gonna continue growing as an artist and creative. One thing that I've kind of lately been learning to accept myself is just like the abundance that comes along with, people recognizing your work or stuff like that, or like just in general, even just in personal aspect, like when people come in and they offer you things or they want to help out. Me growing up in a environment that felt kind of limited, or felt like we always needed something, like it's still been really hard for me to kind of accept when people want to help, because I feel like this like I'm not used to it. I'd rather do it myself. I'm cool. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And it's one thing that I've been learning to kind of open up myself to, when people are like, hey, good episode, or good, they compliment your work. Sometimes you're easy to be like, yeah, sure, thanks, instead of just like, oh, you know what? Thank you, and really embracing it.
Yeah.
And I think, that's one of those things that I personally need to work on. And I've seen other people around me also kind of, have a weird way of navigating through those emotions, I guess.
No, yeah, I feel like I'm also that way. I feel like growing up, I've always had to do things for myself, so I'm like, I can do it, like, like I don't need to ask for help. But I was humbled in December when my car got burned down.
That's right.
So that really, like, I think that really just showed me, like, I do need to rely on community. And like a lot of people came through and like donated or bought stuff from my shop, which like helped out so much. But that was like a big changing thing of like the way I view things, where it was like, I always felt like so scared to like ask for help, but that like, it really showed me that like a lot of people, that my art had made like an impact on people, and like people really came through, and like they sent me like so many people messaged me and just like let me know of like how much my art had meant to them, and how they were sorry they felt for me and stuff. And so I think that like really, like, I was low, but like, community really like pushed me up.
Yeah. See, that's so cool, because it's easy, because you can easily like go online and buy your interactions. Like, I'm about to buy likes, people promoting things. I'm gonna go buy post boost,
Yeah.
But in reality, like, all it really takes is just to be, consistent, be honest with people, be vulnerable with people. And then, you start building that community that you don't even know it's there until, in your case, like you said, I do remember seeing that. I mean, if you don't mind me asking, like, just some random guy or some random person.
Just some random guy in the middle of the night.
Oh my God.
Yeah. No, but yeah, I think a lot of like what's helped me build community within like the art world and just like in general is just like really just showing up for people and being there when they have like openings, like going out and supporting, or just going to events and just meeting people, and just always knowing like you're meeting individuals and you're sharing and connect like stories and energy, and you're connecting with them, and just like, I don't know, I feel like never take for granted the people you meet. And so you never know, like some people I've met like a really long time ago, they come and hit me up like years later and they're like, hey, like there's this like job opportunity, like I remembered you and stuff like that. So yeah.
No, you know, and going back to like the humbling thing, like you know, I feel like this whole thing wraps in these three things, like just scarcity mentality, you know, accepting abundance, and just kind of embracing your own self as well. Like you would think like, oh, I don't want to go network because all I'm going to do is just talk about myself. It sounds selfish, like in a way, right? Like I'm going to show up, I'm going to meet people, and I'm going to tell them about myself. You know, like it sounds kind of like, yeah, I'm going to go. But in reality, what you're really doing too is, again, you're validating yourself as a professional, right? Because you're going in there to carry yourself as a professional. At the same time, you're meeting other people who, hence, through these conversations, you're validating them as well.
Yeah.
And then you're really you're really going to be there for the sake of creating connection with somebody. And whether it's a professional or platonic or whatever it is, like you're still growing, you know? And again, you're not going to get that from just staying at home.
Yeah. I feel like I'm so bad at like connecting or like networking when it comes to like fancy professional things, because I just always feel like so out of place, and I never know like what to say or like how to like approach people. But when it's like an art show, I'm like, oh, everyone's artists, they're just like me. And so it's like, oh, I'm gonna go make some homies. And so it's like easier that way to like approach it, like, oh, I'm gonna go make a new friend, versus like, oh, this is like an official person, like with, I don't know what director position. Or, like, I'm not gonna think about that.
Yeah, no, and then that's another, like I'd be doing that, and I'm stuttering, like you know, like sweating. It's like, dude, calm down, like relax a little bit. You know, you're just here to really just get to know people. You know, if you go in there with the mentality of that you have to go in there to impress, you're gonna start psyching yourself out. You know, like just go there, chill, and people will come up to you, talk with them, and then eventually the titles come out, like, oh yeah, I do this and I do that. But at that point, you know, you've gotten to the point where you've been more personal before you shoot your shot like that, you know. But no, it's you know, this is again some of those things that I didn't know growing up. You know, for a long time, the last 10 years for me were just full of me like being a hermit. You know, like kind of being scared to really put myself out there. Even if I was doing these podcasts, you know, I mentioned that I've been doing this specific show since like 2017. So, you know, even then I still had these moments where I'll talk with people. I talked with you, bye, I'll see you later. And I didn't make the attempt to connect. And it wasn't until, again, like COVID era that I was like, I need to change that up. Like I got to put myself out there, even if it meant getting in positions where I'm uncomfortable, even if it meant having sometimes liquid courage. I'd be like, you know, just a little wine. Hey, what's up? Open up. But eventually that kind of made me embrace myself as a little well, and also embrace that I do get shy, you know, because that is part of me.
Yeah, no, I know. I feel like I always go up to people. I'm like, I don't know if they remember me, but like, I'm just going to go say hi, because I always just hate like walking into a room and seeing someone and it's like, you guys kind of like eye each other and like, oh, I know you. Yeah. It's like no one goes up to them like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to just be that person. Yeah. Yeah,
the person that goes to talk to them. Yeah, no, it's somebody told me recently too, and I saw them and they're like, I was like, honestly, I thought you were going to ignore me and not talk to me. I was like, no. I was just finding a perfect moment to approach you, you know, because you were too busy talking to people. My thing is, I don't want to go in there and butt in, you know, like I'll give you your space. And then when I see you alone, then I'll like creep up.
Run towards them.
I'll make the connection. So, but no, you know, it's just those things as we grow, they become more apparent to us, you know, and now it's up to us to kind of show younger people and be like, look, you can get this done, you can get these results if you know, follow this little recipe per se, you know. For when you went to school, you said, for the printmaking and stuff, right? So you had basically like formal education on stuff.
So I did studio art, and basically that just really let me like take a bunch of classes in different departments. So I like took like ceramic classes or printmaking class, took a lot of like drawing and painting classes. But yeah, then like the first printmaking class I took was like fall of 2019, and then I took 2 more in like the spring of 2020, and then the pandemic hit. So then those classes just became like online, and they weren't really like that like fun, because you missed the whole like community aspect of like doing a print and just like having like your classmates come, and like if you need help, like like the professors or like the classmates there, that's gonna help. And like at Long Beach, they just have like a really dope like printmaking community there. I feel like everyone there was just like so nice. Like I always felt different like when I was like in the drawing and like painting like building, and then once I went into the printmaking building, I was like, oh, this is way better. Like the vibes are better here. No shade to the drawing painting. Oh my god. But no, they're cool.
They're making notes right now.
They're cool too. But yeah, then like COVID hit, and I think like even though that really sucked, I always tell people like that also really showed me like how I can do printmaking at home without relying on like a studio, like an official studio. And so I feel like if that didn't happen, I think after I would have graduated, I would have been like, oh, I can't do screen printing or like vinyl cuts because I don't have like a press or have this or anything. Okay. But then like at home, I was like, well, I have to do my class. So I have to figure out like, obviously like the professors are accommodating with like things how to change and stuff. And like there was like a lot of like DIYing, but it just showed me like that it was possible. And so I andaba like in my living room. Yeah.
Getting it done.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. And again, it goes to the thing, there's resilience, and you know, when you want to get things done, that resilience is going to drive you, you know, like you could have limited yourself to be like, oh, I don't have the stuff here, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
You know, but you took it upon yourself to, I mean, you had to get it done. You wanted to pass a class first and foremost, you know, but, you know, that's where it comes down to. Like, sometimes you got to just find a solution to what you want to create, you know. You know, a little bit on the history of how I started recording, I was mentioning to you. Like, I started recording in my car. Like, I had a little white Toyota Corolla, just sat down in there with the guests, and then I'll put my phone in the middle of the console, and we'll talk. You know, we're just looking at each other talking. At that time, we were just getting, like, super, super stoned in the car, and then we'd just be hanging out, talking. And then eventually evolved into me getting this empty bathroom that was like an ex-massage parlor. Empty bathroom, we'll talk in there, and the microphone sounded like we were underwater. You know, but it's that evolution, you know, like you know what you want, and you find a way to just create it. Yeah. And that nobody can take away from you.
No, yeah. And then like that in itself, it's like, it just shows you like how much you really wanted to do this, and you'll do what you need to. And it's like, you have to be patient. Like, you can't go from like, I don't know, like one step to like, oh, I'm going to rent out like a $5,000 studio. Exactly. Like, oh, I don't have the money for it. Well, like, you got to take a few steps and then eventually get there.
Yeah. No, and it's going to take a while, like you said. I mean, you say you officially be doing Chicas Peligrosas exactly how long now then?
Yeah, like I think when I started doing vending events, it was like 2017. So
seven years or so.
Time as you.
Hey,
yeah, you know? We're both here.
We're both here.
Gotta.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, again, you know, that resilience is just going to take you far, and it's cool when you meet people who feel passionate about their stuff as well. You know, hence why the show exists. You know, hence why you're here. You know, because you know you've come to learn. When you meet these people, you also want to be able to give them their flowers and say, like, hey, like, you're doing things that's motivating me from far away. You know, and when you see things happening, you pay attention, and you know, you want to just gravitate or revolve yourself around these people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no, of course. Now, like, what are you currently working on right now with Chicas Peligrosas?
Let's see. Oh, I've just finished like 2 workshops that I did with Ultimate. So one was like in the ending of April, and then one was literally this weekend. The next thing is the second part of that one project I was doing with the youth at Fremont High School. We're gonna be painting like a mini mural. So me and Sada are gonna be meeting up this June to like paint that up, and then it'll go up on the fence, and it'll basically be like a welcome sign, and it'll be the same design that I screen printed on those tote bags, but like we'll add like some colors, and it'll be cute. Yeah,
because you did something like that was like a trash can that you did for Coachella.
Oh yeah, that was in April. Yeah, so basically like I just submitted my artwork to see if they got it. They accepted me, and then it wasn't paid, but they gave us 2 VIP tickets. So I took
Coachella?
Yeah, I was like to my sister. I was like, "You want it? You have to work for it." I was like, "Like you gotta come out here and like help me." And OMG, sanding that bin was hard work. It was like a all day thing of like sanding and priming, and I was like, "Damn, like this is a lot of work." But then once that was like the hard part was done, and painting was like really nice and fun.
Nice. So when you submitted this to them, you submitted them like a mock-up of what it will look like on the trash?
So yeah, it was like a digital mock-up. And I think I submitted, like, they had extended it, and I was like, oh, well, the deadline had passed, and I was like, oh, well, it's late. They extended it, and then I was like, oh, like, I'll do it. And then, like, the last day came up, and I was like, damn, I didn't do it. So I was like, let me just rework a design I already had, and just, like, added some colors and stuff. But yeah, it was just, like, a digital mock-up, and then once you were accepted, they just kind of gave you the guidelines of like, okay, like your artwork was selected. They did ask me to change like one thing of like, can you add like one of the headliners as a character? So I changed one of the characters to Doja Cat. And then it was just painting it. They had an art show for other artists. So it was really cool. And then we did like a artist meetup out there, so they took pictures of us, like professional pictures, and like of our bins, and like people interacting with the bin, and just like the rest of the time was just out there having fun.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, because you're connecting with other artists as well, and in this event that's huge. It brings hundreds of people out, you know.
Yeah, no, it was a really cool experience, and I had never been to Coachella.
And had to go for VIP.
Yeah, I was like, I could not afford this. No, yeah, I was like, this is so expensive. Even just like looking for like a place to stay was so expensive. Like the cheapest place I could find was like an hour away. So like we were driving like 1 hour back and forth. But it was worth it. It was really fun.
That sounds cool. I mean, I got the chance to go back in 2011 when it was still like heavy on like indie rock. So that was a cool one, and I got to camp out. Like, I don't know if they still camp out.
I know, you're a trooper.
Oh, they still have
the car camping.
But it's hot, right?
I don't know how people do it.
Yeah, right? Well, you know, just a quick little story. I remember going back in 2011. I went with a friend, and you know, we were there. We got a tent. We slept. You wake up sweating. You go to sleep sweating. And then, you know, you go in there thinking you're going to have a fun time because you're going to bring alcohol and stuff. You can't even drink because you're dehydrated in the sun. It's like, oh.
I don't know how people brought like those giant buzz balls in. I'm like, how did you like get that in? And then how are you not dying? Because I'm dying and I'm just drinking water. I'm like, how are you okay?
Yeah, that's a little brutal experiment for people to jump on there. But, you know, it's cool that your first experience was a VIP experience. Yeah. And, you know, you showcase some art.
Yeah, no, my art took me to Coachella.
Now that's badass. Now, you've been doing some stuff with self-help graphics too, right? Or tell me, you might talk about that.
So I first was involved with them. I participated in their Soy Artista summer program. Mm-hmm. And then through there, I've been like in 1 or 2 art shows with them. I think it might be like 3 art shows now. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure. But then this year they invited me to teach a week for their Soy Artista program. And I was like, that is so cool. I'm like, I was in the program, now I get to teach. Like,
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I'm going to be teaching like ages like 11 to 15 screen printing with like stencils. And then we're going to do like some like pressed flower thing like incorporate into it where you can like hammer flowers onto a paper and then like it leaves like an imprint of the color of the flowers on it. Yeah, so it'll be cool.
Hey, that's cool. I mean, because they've been around since I think the 70s and stuff.
Yeah.
So
they're amazing people. When my car got burned down, they gifted me like a flash dryer, and then like another Natalie. She works a lot with the youth and coordinates a bunch of different things. She had found like a press outside, like a t-shirt printing press like in her neighborhood, and she was like, do you want it? I was like, yeah. So no, like everyone there is like super amazing, and they really are like for the artists. They like support you like through everything, and so I'm like always super grateful for like the whole staff there.
Yeah.
Like, they're all like really amazing people.
Yeah, see that goes back to the whole pay it forward thing. Like you know, they're providing something to you that's going to bring value, not just to them as well because they're supporting you, but it's just giving you the gratitude, that, a lot of times you didn't feel you had, and then now you feel it and you want to pass it on to.
Yeah, no, 100%.
For Chicas Peligrosas, like, when I guess, you started 2017. Now, like, do you see, like, anything that you want to take jump onto, like, any projects that you want to experiment with?
Yeah. Well, I think, like, around, like, before the pandemic, I was, like, just dipping my toes into, like, painting murals, and then the pandemic happened, I stopped, and then I focused mainly on printmaking. I definitely want to go back to that, like,
murals,
revisit it, and, like, kind of, like, just do, like, a lot more larger scale walls, but I'm just trying to, like, wait for the right moment of, like, knowing that I have, like, the capacity to do it. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm not gonna rush into it, but I'm like, I'm ready.
You're right. Yeah. Okay. I mean, are you doing anything like art, like I guess, how do I say it? Like internal, like shadow work on yourself to get to that point?
Yeah. I mean, there's this artist I work with. Her name is Mary Lai. I sometimes help her with different projects, but she always brings me on when she has, like, different murals. So, like, she's super cool. You guys should check her out. But, like, one of the cool projects that we did, she painted a mural out on the 76th floor of, like, the U.S. Bank Tower. And so I was up there with, like, a bunch of these dope artists. Yeah. And then they took us to the helicopter pad, and I was like, this is the highest I've ever been. It was like, what is going on? But yeah, she always, like, hits me up whenever she has, like, a mural gig. So, like, yeah.
Hey, it's like a little mentorship through that. Yeah?
No, yeah, for sure. I think we just really work really well together. And then, yeah, I think we just really work. I'm going to actually help her on, like a longer term project in July. Yeah. So it'll be like 10 days or something of, like, painting murals. So I have the experience. I just need to make it my art.
Yay, nice. That's tribute. You were at the helipad?
Yeah. No, it was so cool. I was like, and then they've brought, like, a helicopter out to, like, take a video of us or a picture of us. I was like, that's cool.
Oh man, that's such a. I've been skydiving. I'm scared of heights, but I went skydiving.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if I can stand on top of a building, just because you can see everything, right? You can see the whole cityscape.
Being on top, it wasn't scary. It was like going up the stairs between, like, the helipad and, like, the regular stairs. Like, they became, like, metal, like, not that great stairs, and I was like, oh, this is kind of scary. Let me hold on. Oh. Yeah, but just that. And then once you were up there, I'm like, I'm not going to go to the edge.
you stay right in the middle.
Like, right in the middle.
Yeah, no, that's good that you've been able to experiment new things or experience new things just through the ability to do art. That's one of those things, anybody listening out there that's creative, just keep sketching, keep pushing. Like, you get to a point eventually, and again, it's like if you're stuck in that scarcity mentality that you feel like you don't have the resources, you don't have the capabilities, it's gonna cripple you in the sense, and it's gonna stop you from wanting to do more or push for yourself more. And it's important for us to hear stories like this, just so we know, like, you could do it too. Yeah,
no, and I think also I feel like, I don't know, within, like, art, I always find myself doing, like, random jobs just to get, like, some money here and there. And, like, working with Mary, like, that was one, like, some random number hit me up, and she's like, hey, I heard you assist, and I don't know, you're an artist too, like, are you down to help me paint? And I was like, who is this? And then she's like,
who is this?
Like, she didn't tell me her name or anything. I was like, oh, send me your website. I'm like, who is this? And then, like, I just showed up. I was like, I'm gonna go meet this person in downtown LA. I don't know where I'm like, I don't know what this is and stuff. Obviously, I had to, like, research her and stuff, but from there, it was just like, look, I would have never, like, she's taking me to different places, and she actually had, like, a residency in at the H Hotel in Beverly Hills, and then she had, like, a digital art show and for Kobe Bryant when they did the, like, statue unveiling, and so she wanted to include me in it, so I got, like, to put my artwork in there, and then they did, like, this whole, like, news thing where, like, the reporters were there, like, highlighting the artwork there. So yeah, I did. You never know where things go from just one little job that thought was just going to be one thing, and then it just became this like awesome friendship, and just like she's been a huge mentor. I always learn like different business stuff because she tells me like what she experiences, and then I'm like, all right, now I know if I go through that, what to do.
No, and that's how we're gonna learn, you know. At least get a heads up, and like, hey, heads up, this is how you handle stuff, you know, and that's just gonna help you navigate through it in your own way, you know. Now, if you don't mind me asking, like, what do you think has been the most challenging part in just being a creative or just navigating your world of Chicas Peligrosas?
I feel like it's always like when like, you're like making a bunch of work, but then you reach that one stop where you're not inspired, and you're kind of like in a creative block, and you're like, what do I do? And then it's like, well, if I don't make art, how do I make my money? Like, how do I like make new artwork or new prints and stuff? So I feel like I'm still learning that balance of like, all right, like this happens, like, what do I do? And I think what's helped me like a lot is like when I feel very creative, when I'm like drawing like 10 different things and 10 different sketches, I'm like, let me just get it all out, because there's going to be a time where I don't know what to do. And these drafts and sketches are going to be like what I rely on to be able to like make something. Yeah,
that's hard, because I mean, once you're in that position, you know, you want to create, but you also don't want to create just for the sake of making money. You know, right? Because I mean, I'm assuming that'll kind of just, I mean, I guess it doesn't mess with your inspiration, but it may not be, I guess, true, right?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I make art just for fun, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be cute for like a little pouch or something. Yeah. But then other times it's like, oh, when I actually like, want to make something a bit more serious, it's like, oh, I'm stuck here. Or if it's like I'm gonna be part of an art show, I'm like, I'm like, I don't know what to draw. So what do I do? So that is just trying to like find the inspiration, and I think oftentimes it's like hanging out with friends, or just like really going out and just like going to different things around like LA. It just really inspires me. Yeah,
you know what? That was one of my next questions here. Like what do you do to get inspired? And you said it perfectly. Like sometimes you just kind of have to experience life to get those inspirations, you know? Yeah. I used to do that a lot. I do that every now and then. I'll take a couple of weeks off of the podcast, or just anything that has to do with what I put myself through. And I let myself just to go places, meet people, just go see some weird stuff, you know, and then you kind of come back more like refreshed and with better ideas, and like you take, you know, you have things to pull from. And then that in itself is just going to inspire you to kind of move on to your next project. Yeah. One thing that I remember, you know, I am an artist, you can say, not consistently, not professionally, but I do it for my own sake. But again, I had to have these moments where, you know, I'm starting a project out. The concept's so cool. I know how it's going to look like. I start drawing it, figure out what colors I'm going to use. And then I'm just like, man, this sucks. Like, it's not coming out how I want. Like, oh, it's annoying me. And you kind of like have to move away from it. And you come back, you look at it, and you're like, it's not that bad. You know what? Let me add some yellow here. Yeah. And then slowly you start seeing it come to life, you know? And it's like, all right, this was a good idea the whole time.
Yeah. No, that happens to me all the time. And I'm like, I go back to it. I'm like, what was I thinking? Or sometimes it's like different drawings, or I'm like, I want it to capture like a certain feeling to it, and I'm like, it's not like there's no feeling in it. I'm like, I need to hold on, and it really just takes like, there's this one drawing I made, and I was like, it was like a tribute to Koreatown. I had done like a few different drawings. I would ask my sister, I'm like, hey, what do you think of that? Like, I'd ask my friend, like, what are words that like remind you of like Koreatown? Because like we all grew up going there all the time, and my sister would be like, no, like, that's not it. Like, I was like, damn, like, you're right. I was like, I don't want to accept that. I was like, I just want to, like, be able to print it. But you're right. Like, it doesn't feel like it. Like, it doesn't encapsulate it. And it is a lot of, like, sometimes you have to let go of drawings. And it's hard. It's like, drawing is not working out. And you have to let go of it and draw something different. And it's the hard truth.
It's the hard truth. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. Because, you know, you hold on to it so tight because you know it's yours. And you're like, I don't want to, but again, it's learning how to release things when they're not for you, you know?
Yeah, and I think I always like to jump in and like, I get really excited. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to finalize the line work, add all these colors. But it's like, well, if I don't have like the foundation, right, of like the whole concept, then adding colors is not going to change that.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to give me like the type of love and personality that I want this piece to come. Yeah.
But you know, you're speaking from the heart there, because you really are trying to make sure that your artwork, regardless of how you created it or what process you're going through, you're creating it with a real intention, you know?
Yeah.
And then people will pick that up immediately when they see it.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, of course. Now, like, we're kind of getting close to the time before we start playing some cool music.
Yeah.
But, you know, before we get to that, where do you see yourself going, you know, as a creative? Like, do you see, I know you talked about the murals and stuff, but like, where do you see yourself, Jackie Hernandez? Where do you see yourself going now?
So my dream, I'm going to say it because I'm going to manifest it.
Yeah.
My dream has always been to have like a community studio in my own neighborhood where I can have like my own studio, but also just open it up to do like free workshops and stuff, and just be like a chill space for like a lot of youth to come and hang out, and just if they want to make art, I'm like, here are some supplies. It's free, like don't even worry or anything. So that's what my goal and dream is to do.
Hell yeah. And I mean, that just speaks volumes for, you know, how you evolve again as a creative. Like, you went through the whole thing of studying, you know, being mentored, even now, you know, like doing your own thing, creating your own community, and now you want to make a space for the community, you know, that you're creating culture, you know, and that's like the next step, you know. That's super mature of you to do that as well.
Thank you. I just need the money for it.
Anybody here listening, go invest.
Go invest in my dream.
Nah, and you know, like you said, you're speaking that aloud to manifest this. It's gonna happen. It's just a matter of time before somebody, you know, picks this up and they're like, you know, you've been putting in the work. They see that you've been going through it, the ups and downs, and you know, you have all this work under your belt at this point that you can easily, with confidence, be like, I want this.
Yeah.
And you've been getting what you want.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of time. I know.
Yeah. It's just time and patience.
Time and patience. Yeah. Hopefully not too long, but you know, hopefully also sooner than later.
Yeah.
You know. But
no, for sure.
Now, if people want to find out more of your work, if they want to help support you, you know, whatever you do in the future and now, like, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can go to laschicas.peligrosas.com or follow me on socials as Las Chicas Peligrosas. Yeah.
We're going to leave off with some music off of, I want to make sure I pronounce this right, Gentx, Violentx. I think that's what we agreed on, right? We have the music from them with Flores. So we're going to start that off. Again, you're listening to KQBHLP, Los Angeles, California, 101.5 FM, a community service of Boyle Heights Arts Conservatory, and you just finished listening to The Social Primate. Jackie, thank you so much for making the time, and see you next time.